After watching this episode, you will know exactly how to zone focus. When you are doing street photography, documentary work, or just photographing your daily life, then you'll need to be quick with it. So there is one thing that you can spend less time on, and that is focusing while using the zone focusing method. I got a lot of questions about this topic, so welcome to another episode of Let's Talk It Over. First things first, what is zone focusing exactly and why do some people call it range focusing? Well, in photography, if we talk about the zone system, we're actually talking about an exposure technique that was developed by Ansel Adams, which we are not discussing today. But I guess over the years, people like to use zone focusing more over range focusing, and I can see why. It is also a zone where things are in focus. But enough of that, it doesn't really matter. Anyways, zone focusing, what is it? Well, it's a way to manually preset your focus to the distance of your subject before taking a shot, or even before lifting the camera to your eye. So you set your lens to a specific distance and use a narrow aperture to create a zone of focus. Street photographers use this technique a lot, for instance, because now they can set their range and they know exactly how much of that range is in focus. I normally like to set my aperture at f11 and my distance or my focus at 1.5 meters. This way I know exactly how much distance I need to have from my subject and make sure that it is still in focus. But let's step back for a second, because one thing that's really important is the choice of focal length, or which lens that you are using. Because the wider the lens, the easier it is to zone focus. On this 28, you can see when I put the aperture at f11, the range of focus is pretty wide, from about 1 meter to even over 3 meters. That means that everything falling between those numbers will be in focus. But when you use a 50mm, for instance, and you put it at f11, you can see that the range that will be in focus is a lot shorter, from 1 meter to about 1.3 meters. So a wider focal length has a larger zone, more things will be in focus. That's why I always say to people who would like to use this technique, please use a 35mm or preferably even wider. I've used this technique on a 35mm for many years and it's perfectly doable, definitely when using an aperture of f11 or f16. And talking about apertures, as you can see, the wider the aperture goes, the more narrow your zone of focus will be. So using an aperture of f8 or higher is recommended. And I'm showing this now on my rangefinder camera, but you can do this on almost any camera, just like on these SLRs or even on a medium format camera. Just make sure that it has the right information or the indicators on the lens. This way you can see at what aperture the range is and what will be in focus. Although I never really zone focused on a medium format camera before. The depth of field is way different on a 35mm camera, so keep that in mind. Or a full frame camera, of course. I'll show you some clips where I zone focus just about everything. And as you can see, I can quickly take photos without worrying about if things are in focus or not. The only things that I need to make sure are right are the exposure and the composition, of course. And to make it even easier, about 80% of the time I already know my exposure because I use the Sunny 16 rule. But if you want to know more about that, I'll leave the link to that episode in the description down below. If you master both the Sunny 16 rule and zone focusing, you'll be very quick. Then you can really focus on composition, layering, timing, you name it. There's also a misconception about zone focusing and hyperfocal distance. Zone focusing, like I explained, uses a range of distances, while hyperfocal sets focus so everything from half that distance to infinity is sharp. This is very useful for landscape photographers who like to have their horizon in focus, but also things in the foreground. For instance, the horizon is at infinity, then you'll use an f16 aperture on a 28 lens, then set the infinity at f16 on the right side of your lens, and this way you know that everything from infinity to around 1 meter in front of you is in focus. If you just set your focus at infinity, then you'll see that the range shifted to almost 2 meters. More on that later if you guys are interested in that. So yes, zone focusing. Preset your focus before taking the shot. My recommendations are to use a wider lens, 35mm, but preferably even wider, maybe like a 28 or 24. Use an aperture of f8, f11 or f16 to get a wider zone. Set the focus to the distance that you think you'll have from your subject. I normally like to be around 1 meter to 2 meters from my subjects. Depends a little bit on the scene. So that's why I set it to 1.5 meters just to be safe. But if you shoot at f16 for instance on a 28mm, you'll know that everything from 1 meter till infinity will be sharp. This works on both film cameras and digital of course, but I feel like a lot of people relate this technique to film shooters. But I see a lot of digital shooters missing focus because they really rely on autofocus and also shooting at f1.4 during the day. So yeah, that's really it. Try it out and I bet you'll get the hang of it pretty quickly. Just like knowing your exposure, this will be a second nature to you. You'll know exactly where to put the focus tab on your lens, which aperture to use, and be done with it. If you have any questions left, feel free to put them in the comment section down below. And if this episode was helpful in any way, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. But for now, thanks for watching and I'll see you next week. Peace.